The sky above Rinter, 9 tore open like paper. Not a natural storm, but the aftermath of a war we didn't know existed. Until the first pulse hit our fleet. My heart froze as the comms lit up with alien shrieks that weren't in any database, sounds that made the blood in my veins stutter. This is not a drill, I whispered to no one. But that was only the beginning. For decades, the galaxy had whispered about humans. Old logs, half-destroyed whole records, alien historians muttering in fear. But no one alive had seen one, except the ones who survived and went mad trying. Humans were only rumors. My team and I were about to prove they were terrifyingly real. I'm Commander Jarvos, captain of the reconnaissance frigate Aurora's Edge. We weren't soldiers. Not really. Not compared to what awaited us. Our mission, observe the Zelvath fleet before they reached the neutral systems. But as we broke orbit of the Rinter cluster, something struck. A ship, larger than moons I'd seen back home, blinked out of hyperspace above us. Its hull shimmered with an impossible geometry, like light itself had been bent to conceal intent. And then, impossibly, a voice in perfect common cut through the comms. "Humans, are you truly here?" We froze, not just at the voice, but at the weight behind it. Something ancient spoke, something that had cataloged our species, as if we were mythical beasts. I swallowed hard. We are, and we came to stop you from destroying innocent systems. Silence. Then a shimmer of the ship's hull twisted and a figure emerged. 6 limbs, translucent skin that shifted colors like liquid glass, eyes that burned with intelligence older than any star we charted. "Why?" it asked, and the simple word echoed across my mind like thunder. "Why intervene? You are nothing." None of us were prepared for the truth. The Zelvath had faced empires, conquered systems, and broken civilizations. And yet, their fear was subtle, almost reverent when they spoke of humans. What I saw next changed everything. The first strike came without warning. Orbital artillery from the Zelvath fleet rained down, tearing at our frigates like paper. My crew scrambled. My weapon systems overloaded as the shields flared. Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, but something primal kept me rooted. Then the comms lit up again, this time not in words, but in visions. The Zelvath were projecting images directly into our minds. Humans on distant battlefields, wielding technology that seemed impossibly crude yet devastatingly effective. Planet-sized dreadnoughts reduced to ash by a single dropship's payload. Entire armies erased before they could scream. The aliens trembled at the idea of us, and we hadn't even arrived yet. It was private initiative at first. My lieutenant, Kethrael, shouted, "We can't fight that. It's insane." But instinct, perhaps ancestral, perhaps genetic, pushed us forward. We launched, not because we could win, at least not initially, but because humans never wait for permission when the galaxy hangs in the balance. As our weapons hit, the Zelvath paused. Every pulse from our frigates seemed to hum in sync with something buried deep in their collective memory. And in that moment, I saw it. The first humans entering the battle, thousands of light years away, but somehow present. Their fleet moved like ghosts, precise, brutal, and utterly fearless. "What are they?" One of the aliens whispered in terror over the comms. We didn't answer. We simply engaged. The first 30 minutes were chaos. Our small frigate barely scratched the surface, but each strike we made synchronized with distant echoes, waves of humans already dismantling the Zelvath forward lines. Systems we thought invulnerable collapsed under human ingenuity. And every time we took a hit, we realized something terrifying. Humans are not just fighters. Humans are phenomena. But that was only the beginning. Half the fleet was gone before we even understood the rules. Rinter, 9 itself began to fracture under orbital bombardment. Cities vanished in firestorms, rivers boiled, and the air was thick with screams. I should have panicked. I should have cried. But instead, I felt something deeper, pride, fear, and a raw, undeniable hope. Humans had entered the war, and with them, we survived. Mid-battle, the Zelvath did something unexpected. Their leaders, massive beings whose thoughts could crush minds, initiated a truce protocol. We hovered in space, wary, as the translucent alien commander spoke again. but this time differently. They are, here, the myth's alive. Why are you not dead? I took a breath. Because humans never die quietly. The shock on their faces was nearly comical if it weren't so horrifying. They had expected weakness, surrender, begging. Instead, they met resistance, swift, clever, unstoppable resistance. And now, the humans had arrived in person. Not holograms, not projections. Real, breathing, lethal, and ready. What I saw next changed everything. Humans emerged from the fog of war like hunters in a storm. My sensors picked up strange vessels. Sleek, almost organic, moving with impossible speed. Drones, smaller ships, and what I could only describe as exosuits far beyond our engineering. And when the humans spoke, the sound carried across the void. We don't negotiate. The Zelvath faltered. I had never seen a species accustomed to victory so unhinged by a single word. Entire squadrons reversed course, abandoning their own command structures, their fear tangible. And somewhere deep inside me, I understood why. Because humans are not just unpredictable. We are the universe's immune system. And once we enter a battlefield, the rules themselves bend. A mid-story rehook slammed into my chest. We had assumed the humans were allies. But then a human operative appeared on our bridge, phased through the hull, standing there as if the vacuum of space were nothing. She looked at me with eyes that reflected distant supernovae. "You're brave," she said, "but bravery isn't enough. Follow me if you want to live." We did, and what came next was impossible. Humans didn't just fight the Zelvath. They dismantled the moral code that had guided them for millennia. Colonies used as weapons were liberated. Prisoners freed, not slaughtered. And yet, every act carried the efficiency of someone who had already survived 1,000 deaths. We learned secrets we weren't meant to know. Human technology wasn't built in labs. It was grown, evolved, almost alive. Human soldiers didn't wear armor, they became it. And humans fought not because they hated, but because they remembered. Every battle, every loss, every sacrifice was a lesson written in blood and fire. What I saw next changed everything. The final confrontation came at the heart of the Zelvath mothership, a structure larger than Rinter's sun. Humans approached without hesitation. Alien commanders lashed out with psychic force. But humans absorbed it. Not literally, but somehow, psychologically, strategically. Every attack was redirected. Every weakness exploited. And when the humans struck the core, it wasn't with brute force, but with moral clarity, turning the Zelvath's own weapons against them. I watched the mothership implode, and for a moment, space itself seemed to sigh. Debris scattered like confetti. Light twisted, and the surviving Zelvath fled, their myth of invincibility shattered. And then she turned to me, the human operative, the one who had entered our bridge. She smiled, but not like someone celebrating. It was a weight of centuries of survival in one glance. "You now know what we are," she said, "and what you're capable of when humans fight alongside you." I swallowed, knowing the truth. Humans were never meant to be fully understood. They were legend made flesh, brought into reality, and once released into the galaxy, unstoppable. The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. We had survived. And yet, I knew this was not the end. Humans had awakened something in the cosmos, and whatever came next would remember. The Zelvath, once arrogant gods, would whisper our names in fear. And us, the humans who had arrived quietly at first, would be the storm they never saw coming. We left the battlefield changed. Ships battered, crews scarred but alive. And in the dark, quiet moments, I felt it, the unshakable weight of being human in a universe that had never expected us to exist. The galaxy would never forget. Not the Zelvath, not the neutral systems we saved, and not me, because humans weren't just fighters. We were the ending of old myths and the beginning of new legends. I looked up at the stars, and for the first time, I smiled through the exhaustion and fear. The universe had always underestimated us, and that was its final mistake.